So this is my new monitor. It's an MSI. Do I think MSIs are the greatest? No. Honestly, a lot of these curved VA gaming monitors are very similar. I got this model, so this is the model you gotta buy. Nah, this isn't a video like that. This isn't really a review. But again, there's a reason I got this monitor, and there's a reason I got it when I did. So I thought I would show it. It's a nice monitor. I don't think the color accuracy is quite as good as like your average IPS panel. But I do like VA panels. They tend to have a high contrast ratio. The blacks are usually pretty black and the whites are usually pretty bright. They tend to have good viewing angles, similar to an IPS panel in that regard. Again, viewing angles are really good. It's a little cooler than my 24-inch Samsung when they're both on the default settings. There is a warm setting I can put the MSI into, and it will get it closer to the Samsung. But I didn't really want to run it in its warm setting. I would prefer to run it in its neutral setting. It's got a cool setting, a normal setting, and a warm setting. Yeah, usually if uTorrent is open, or foobar, that kind of stuff goes on the second monitor. Not a huge deal if the color accuracy is slightly different, or the monitor size is slightly different. This is a 27-inch. This is a 24-inch. That might bother some people. My previous setup was the 24-inch was here, and I had a 17-inch 4x3 here. So, completely different size, completely different aspect ratio. Honestly, to me, it doesn't really matter. When you drag something over, it's fairly lined up. It gets a little smaller as it goes across, but it does what it needs to do, having the second monitor over here for auxiliary information. The fact this one's a gaming monitor, it's a bonus. I didn't necessarily need to go out and buy a gaming monitor. Again, this isn't something I necessarily ran out to buy because I needed it. But this MSI is 165 Hz and it is FreeSync. Oddly enough, the monitor is advertised as 165 Hz. It says right on the box it is 165 Hz. It's curved. 1 millisecond response time. I have to go like this when I say 1 millisecond response time. There's no such thing as a VA panel or an IPS panel with 1 millisecond response time. A lot of gaming monitors these days are advertising a 1 millisecond response time. But there is caveats to that. It's usually followed by some sort of abbreviation like MBR or MBVR or some sort of a motion blur reduction. It's not a true 1 millisecond. But anyways, it's advertised as 165 Hz. The funny thing is, it's got DisplayPort on it and it's got HDMI on it. But it doesn't come with a DisplayPort cable. It only comes with an HDMI cable. So the funny thing there is the HDMI, as far as I know, can't do 165 Hz. For me, it maxes out at 144 Hz. And that is HDMI 2.0. I would assume if that was HDMI 1.4, it wouldn't even be doing 144 Hz. So your graphics card, if it's got HDMI 2.0, then I assume the HDMI port on this monitor is HDMI 2.0. That's not always the case. A lot of monitors with HDMI and DisplayPort, there may be, especially on older monitors, if they're a few years old, your HDMI port might only be HDMI 1.4, and in that case, even if it's a 144 Hz monitor, you pretty much need to use the DisplayPort. Honestly, I don't care. I am not a fast-paced, heavy gamer. It's not a gaming monitor first as its main priority. It's an all-around use monitor. And I don't think I can personally tell the difference between 144 and 165 Hz. Maybe some of you can. I don't think I can. I can certainly see the difference between 60 Hz and 120, but 120 to 144 or 144 to 165, I doubt I could see the difference. Yeah, that's one complaint, I guess, with the monitor. It didn't come with the DisplayPort cable. A lot of gaming 144 Hz monitors do come with the DisplayPort cable. This one didn't. It did come with the HDMI cable. I plugged that in. It defaulted to 144 Hz. It detected that it was FreeSync, and it turned FreeSync on. And so, yeah, for the most part it works fine, and I'm okay with using the HDMI. Obviously, DisplayPort is better. Yeah, like I said, the contrast ratio is pretty good. It's nice and smooth at 144 hertz. It's got FreeSync, that's all great. The contrast ratio is pretty good. The viewing angles are pretty good. It's overall, it is a decent monitor. It is not certainly a great monitor if you were doing publishing and you needed the best color accuracy. But it's just an all-around monitor. It's got a pretty good contrast ratio, pretty good viewing angles, and obviously it's better than a 60 hertz. No questions asked there. It's not a TN panel. I do not like TN panels. If you are strictly a gamer and you don't care about viewing angles or color accuracy, maybe you would want a TN panel with a true 1 millisecond response time. But most gaming monitors now are IPS or VA. And like I said, none of those are truly a 1 millisecond response time. Don't believe everything on the box. Other complaint really is that it's not height adjustable, and I didn't realize how important that was until I lost it. My main 24-inch monitor is height adjustable, and so when I switched to the 27-inch, I realized pretty quickly it was way too low on the desk, and you're basically looking down at the monitor, which isn't comfortable. It's not as nice to look at. And so I had to build a little monitor stand. So I had some spare wood lying around, and I built this little monitor stand. I went into a store and looked at monitor stands there, and they had 3 or 4 options, but they all raised the monitor at minimum a good 4 or 5 inches. And I only wanted about 1.5 inches. I wanted just enough room. I felt like the monitor was only about 1.5 inches to 2 inches low, and raising the monitor an extra 4 inches was too much. But also I wanted just enough room to get my M-Audio Fast Tracks audio interface under there. And so I think that really cleaned up my desk. I got more room for just random crap, and my little, that's the speaker controller for my Edifier 2.1 speakers, and my little M-Audio USB Fast Tracks audio interface. Fits nicely under there, and it lifted up the monitor just right. So it actually worked out making my own. The 24 and the 27 line up pretty nicely. As you can see, as far as the height, the 24 is mostly centered with the 27. Maybe not perfect, but it might just depend on how you're looking at it. Yeah, what else was I going to say? Things I do like about the monitor, obviously, like I said, I generally like VA panels. The contrast ratio is really good. The viewing angles are good. The backlight bleed doesn't seem too bad in the edges. Overall, it's a decent-looking overall monitor. I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't, so, there's that. I do have to give props to MSI for the interface. It does have the little joystick knob at the back to go through the menu. That's very common on most modern monitors now. They have a little joystick knob thingy at the back or maybe at the bottom. But on a lot of monitors, that's also how you turn it off. So on a lot of monitors, you have to hold that down to turn it off, or when you press it, one of the directions on the menu will bring it up to power off, and then you click it and it turns it off. So a lot of modern monitors use this little joystick to also turn the monitor on and off. This one, it's only for the menus. You only need to use that little joystick when you need to go into the menu. I do actually like the menu. It's very easily laid out. But it's got a dedicated power button down here. So that is always your power button. All it does is turn it on and off. And you only need to use the little joystick at the back to get into the menu and change settings. So props to MSI for that. That's one thing I definitely like about the monitor. Like I said, I didn't go out of my way to buy the monitor, and I said there was a reason why I got it at the time I got it. And so basically I had store credit to a computer store, and it was mostly Christmas gifts. And my Christmas gifts were gift cards to this computer store. And the monitor was on sale for, I think it was $259. Keep in mind that's Canadian. So the monitor was on sale for $259. I kind of have always wanted to get a 27-inch monitor. And yeah, it's only 1080p, you know, it's 1920 by 1080, and for some people, the DPI is getting borderline too low. I understand that. For me, 27-inch is the limit for a 1920 by 1080. And so, yeah, it was on sale for $259 Canadian, which was a pretty good deal. For a 165 hertz gaming monitor, that was a good deal. And I had the gift cards to the store, and so that was why I got it. Again, it's not like I ran out of my way to specifically get it for one thing or another, but it is a good all-around monitor.